There's a joke amongst artists in the My Little Pony community that you know you've made it when you can draw Rarity's hair from memory. It's theoretically just one main coil defining her mane, but it's harder than you think. I always end up doubling back on myself and forget to return back to her scalp. Why can't she be normal like Fluttershy? She's just one curve on the side and another one up the opposite side like a little heart. Wait. This episode was meant to be one part of a larger video to celebrate 20,000 subscribers. Thanks, by the way. But the more I worked on it, the more things I found out I have to say about it, and now I guess you get an entire episode about horsehair. It's one of the unsung heroes when it comes to developing character. Easily the part of MLP character design doing the most heavy lifting. It's such a versatile tool. It can be put up, let down, played with, scorched, styled, restyled, faked, cloned, returned, imitated, and almost anything else you could think of. Take Twilight Sparkle, for example. Her mane and tail are straight, orderly, and unobtrusive. This kind of plain, neat hair is often used on reserved characters, or characters who keep to themselves. These characters are often more on the studious side, and choose haircuts without a lot of frills or extra features, to convey their disinterest in meeting new people. That's Twilight for you, the character that started the series unwilling to meet new people if it meant putting down a book. Similarly, Fluttershy is the token reserved, shy character, which you knew before she even opened her mouth. She's got giant hair that hangs down over her eyes, acting as a curtain she can hide behind. You see these a lot on characters who are afraid of meeting new people, or those that struggle in social situations. Character design decisions of this nature happen near the very beginning of the design process. When Lauren Faust was asked to submit a treatment for the My Little Pony reboot that became Friendship is Magic, the hairstyles we're familiar with were largely chosen long before we ever saw them. This allows creators the opportunity to hide cute little Easter eggs in their character designs. Go back to Fluttershy at the beginning of the episode. A lot of people can remember where they were when they realized that Fluttershy's hairline makes a really pleasing heart shape in her character design, fitting for someone representing the element of kindness. Applejack has a red tail ribbon, which wasn't just chosen because it looks good. I talked about this in 84 MLP facts, but real-life horses can have different colored ribbons tied to their tails to convey information about the horse. For example, a red ribbon means that this horse is prone to kicking. Even after the character designs are locked in place, animators can get really crafty with how they pull off some of the more complex hair designs. If Rarity is the hardest hair to draw, Celestia and Luna are the hardest to animate. They've got this cool ethereal waving pattern to their hair. Luna's hair is this reserved early night color that has a translucent softer purple on the edges, and the whole thing sparkles in a way that reminds me of the sheen on the ball I took to bowling meets as a kid. Celestia's got all that going on and a four-colored mane that looks like it probably feels like outer space or primordial soup or cotton candy, I don't know. MLP's animators pulled off some minor miracles when it came to animating in a software as constrained as Adobe Flash. Celestia's hair in particular is modeled after a simple sine wave that oscillates up and down. Her mane was mapped onto it, and the upper and lower bounds follow a similar sine wave pattern to complete that floaty effect. It's a ballsy decision to give a semi-central character with the most complicated hair to animate 4 separate colors in her mane, but that was a decision made all the way back in Lauren's pitch Bible, where her initial sketch was drawn with solid lines implying color partitions in her hair. Weirdly, Princess Cadence's design was not given the flowy, ethereal hair to match Celestia or Luna. I thought it might be because the version of her hair we first see turned out to be Chrysalis in disguise, but she never upgraded to the flowy hair. Ooh, wait, cool new headcanon. What if Chrysalis copied Cadence instead of Celestia because she couldn't mimic the hair effect? It's the most complex portion of her design, followed closely by the decision to give her those Neapolitan-like colored layers. While I'm here, have you heard that fan theory that the more distinct colors in a character's mane, the more powerful their magic is? I like it for how meta it is, but it doesn't work for me because you have characters like Luna and Shining Armor throwing the entire hierarchy out of whack. You also gotta be specific when talking about Luna's hair. For most of the series, she's got that sparkly purple cloud, but that specific look was actually a Season 2 redesign meant to make her look more like her sister. Her original non-nightmare form in the first episode put her in a solid dusty blue mane. A similar change happened to Sunset Shimmer in the back half of Equestria Girls. Beginning with My Past Is Not Today and continuing through Friendship games, Sunset's normally bright hair colors were desaturated to match her more mellow mood, after she became good and realized she didn't have to be so confrontational about everything. Changing hairstyles seems to be a common theme when it comes to turning good. When Starlight Glimmer ditched her village, she also left behind her straight bangs for what was at the time a more modern swoop bang. When Fluttershy has to watch over the boutique while Rarity's away, each of her 3 personas, hipster, goth, and snob, gets a different haircut, which is fun to watch and a really neat character design exercise. Even one of the main characters has full-on mood hair that inflates and deflates with her feelings in the moment, and her Equestria Girls counterpart follows suit. One day normal, next day pirate ship. Sometimes animators will restyle a character's hair when they imitate one another in a really fun way to sell the joke while having fun with the animation. I also have to mention the best redesign the show ever did in Season 7's It Isn't the Main Thing About You, when Rarity took a bad to worse hair day and turned herself into an immaculate example of punk rock excellence. I don't have anything to say about it, it's just really rad. That's what's fun about playing with something most characters have, the sheer versatility of it. With some simple designs, you can sell all kinds of jokes, effects, and character details. It can be tied in a bun to play therapist for your friends, it can become progressively more frazzled throughout the episode as a character slowly descends into madness, it can take a dragon belch to the face for that Terminator future look, it can be done up in curlers for cute girls' night slumber parties, or done up in the royal ceremonial headdress. That is, if you don't miss a step like you're putting together furniture and turn it into a rat's nest. In Equestria, characters aren't bound by the rules of physics, so they can go absolutely crazy with this. As someone who was a kid when the first generation of Pokemon came out, it's been really interesting to watch the Pokemon companies slowly realize that the only limit to what kind of hair they could give a character was their own imagination. It used to just be Jessie in the Wild Hair League, but now they're everywhere, with people like Drayden and Fantina going absolutely nuts. In Power Ponies, the comic book villain they fight, the Maniac, terrorizes Metropolis with her evil sentient hair, allowing for fun gags like her dryers and freezing the world with a hairspray ray of doom. She reminds me a lot of Sedusa, the recurring villain with prehensile hair from the Powerpuff Girls, a previous show that Lauren Faust worked on with her eventual husband Craig McCracken. Back home, Mrs. Cake has giant hair in the shape of a big dollop of frosting, and Mr. Cake is styled after his namesake dessert, the carrot cake. One of the general complaints about the season 5 finale, The Cutie Remark, was a very rushed feeling final act, and I agree with that. There wasn't a lot of time to tell Starlight's story to begin with, so we definitely couldn't explore all those alternate realities like I'm sure fans would have wanted them to. But that didn't stop the designers and animators from coming up with amazing hairstyles that really let the imagination run wild. The version of Rarity that works for Nightmare Moon is done up in a cold professional bun that looks really sharp and sells her aloof, detached attitude in a world where friendship lost. These montage sequences are full of short bobs, side parts, mohawks, and everything in between. For once, Sakura has a hairstyle that makes her fit in with everyone instead of stand out. Design notes for Sakura are fairly limited, but the most frequent note I saw from higher-ups was to make Sakura more special. I don't have proof for this, but I suspect that's why they gave her design a mohawk in addition to making her speak in rhyme. One of the most indulgent hairstyles I've seen comes from the Chest of Harmony, which contained the power to give the girls souped-up second forms with rainbow streaks in their hair. I understand this was a hype moment at the time, and my wife and I love transformation sequences, but these are kinda gaudy, right? Like a maximalist DBZ approach by way of a glam rock aesthetic. Pinky's my favorite. Her bushy mane makes her new streak of hair look like it's bouncing around like a beam of light. These are all fine though, especially for main styles that I believe only appear twice in the series. The only one that kind of irks me is Rarity. She looks like your cat got caught under a pile of wrapping paper. You can use hair for fun little character details too. Say what you want about Zephyr Breeze, but I really like that even before you knew he was a deadbeat, you knew he knew his stuff when it came to mane styling because his mane was kept fashionable and clean in a tidy little man bun. When Cheerilee shows off old pictures of herself to her students, all the kids make fun of her insane crimping back in whatever Equestria considered the 1980s. Another fun joke in Season 2 suggests the opposite of a cover-up scandal when it's revealed that Mare has been dyeing her hair gray instead of a more youthful color. I also like the design choice to give Caballero a gray streak in his mane and tail. Speaking of which, I'm the first person to admit that this show was not meant for my demographic. Male in my 30s, I get it. Whereas there were a few handfuls of interchangeable female hair models for the animators to put on mares, for stallions or otherwise male hair, we didn't really get a ton of options for representation. Characters like Big Mac, Shining Armor, and Brayburn have really generic, straightforward cuts, which, you know, fair. It's the same haircut I've had since 2012. I like that they really tried something different with Hitch, giving him this effortless, feathered look that you can see him playing with sometimes. Occasionally, the show gave big flowy beards to the older characters like Star Swirl and Rockhoof to punch home their years of wisdom and experience. Cranky is bald, but his toupee game is on point, so he's got that covered. Spike is a dragon, a species that doesn't normally grow hair, which makes him a prime candidate for practicing mustache spells on. Sucks for him that he has to go with nothing, while one-off characters like Gladmane get big old pompadours. That's something else the show does from time to time, where they'll give out hairstyles that are meant to be a reference to a very particular character from history or fiction. Gladmane is a reference to Elvis Presley, the consummate showman and my grandma's favorite person, because it fit the vibe of Las Pegasus, which itself is a clear homage to the entertainment capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada. Cozy Glow's whole shtick of seeming on the surface to be a cute, innocent little girl was reinforced by giving her Shirley Temple curls, a direct homage to the precocious child actor of the same name from the 1930s. Flim and Flam were given red and white barbershop manes in reference to both their outfit and their style of music. One of the coolest things the artists will do once in a blue moon is give two characters the same hair model model to punch home a foil character or an otherwise thematic connection. The biggest example of this is making Moondancer a near palette swap of Twilight Sparkle to reinforce how the show compares and contrasts them. Twilight sees a lot of herself in Moondancer, even though Twi has a loving support system of friends, and Moondancer has fallen into being a social recluse when we meet her in Amending Fences. I talk about this in more detail in my episode The Twilight Trilogy. The lesser version of this occurs in Daring Do's first episode, Read It and Weep, before she was retconned into a real character. Back then, her hair was a grayscale version of Rainbow Dash's. This was to emphasize that for the first time in her life, Rainbow Dash could relate to a character in a book, something that has happened to a lot of us. Some of you may have gotten into My Little Pony because you relate to one of the characters. That was undercut somewhat when she was made a real pony in her 2nd through 5th episodes, resulting in this odd fossilized callback to her time as a fictional character. But that doesn't bother me quite as much as this next bit. Is that Quibblepants' real hair? Because it looks the same when we see him try to impress his daughter in Season 9's Common Ground. For me, there are two options, both a little wild. Either he re-dyed his hair when he took his family to the Buckball tournament and he's just a super fan committed to the bit who likes to cosplay Daring Do everywhere he goes, or that's just his natural hair color and some wild coincidence, like the universe was setting him up to be one of Daring Do's biggest fans using a similar deterministic force to the one that gives ponies their cutie marks. I don't know, let me know in the comments. Sometimes character designs were made to allow for characters to be coded to real-life counterparts. Gen 5 was doing this to background ponies, like that pony from Starlight Ridge who is either wearing a hijab or has her hair modeled like one. Zip Storm's shorter hair gave off non-binary energy to a lot of viewers between that and her more husky voice. Misty Bright Dawn was given black-coated hair, done up half in braids with the other allowed to sit up in coils. Less explicitly, the defined curling in Pinkie Pie's mane has led some fans to headcanon Pinkie as black, and I'm only tapping the sign once. I want to do an episode about coding one day, but it's an enormous topic and it needs more time in the oven. There's so many ways to be expressive with a character's hair or mane style. Gen 5's marketing and toy line support this. One of the main characters owns and operates Main Melody, a beauty salon all about expressing your individuality through your hairstyle. It's one of the strongest parts of Gen 5's branding and identity. But really, that's something that the My Little Pony franchise has been doing since the very beginning. My Little Pony has always been first and foremost a toy line, all the way back in the 80s when little girls wanted a pony of their very own that they could clean, take care of, and create fun backstories for. One of their most popular toys, the Brushables, exist to fulfill young girls' dreams of owning and caring for a horse. The franchise knew just how expressive hair could be, and that impression was strong enough that I just spent almost 15 minutes talking about it. Stick around in a couple of years for videos about shoes, eye color, or how characters sleep. So for the opening joke of this episode, I asked the folks who worked on MLP Reanimated to try to draw Rarity's hair from memory. But I kind of forgot they were all talented animators, and so many of them did a good job that it kind of ruined my opening bit. A couple of these I wouldn't mind being her canon hairstyle, they're not bad. Until next time, I'm some horse on the internet. Thanks for watching.